Co-dependency, the power we give away. In our attempt to find ourselves and be whole again, we are unconsciously using many strategies, one of which being codependency. Codependency is the act of being tangled up with someone at the very obscure and unconscious level. This entanglement is due to an unspoken agreement passed between two protagonists in search for the same thing, self. The agreement goes like that. If you give me what my patterns make me think, feel I need, then I'll give you what your patterns make you think, feel you need. The signals that individuals send from their patterns are perceived like radio frequency. We all emit and receive. From an aerial view, you could see the entire wiring system that functions like a magnetic tapestry, attracting the blues to the blues and the greens to the greens in a blind but effective dance. If someone has a particular pattern and vibrate from that specific frequency, another person vibrating on the same wavelength will pick the signal up and respond. They sooner or later will connect and the dance of their patterns will start to form. For the sake of example, I am going to give a very caricatured and simplified example. A person has a low self-esteem that unfortunately became his or her deviated sense of self that they crave to feed. This triggers an unconscious need to be victimized or subjugated to validate the pattern. That person will attract someone whose self-esteem is also low, but is compensating through domination and oppression that can range all the way from blatant to subtle. There will be an immediate attraction between these two characters because they play in the same drama and have the back and forth lines and actions ready to go. They will suffer in this play, but the spell of their patterns feeding on each other will be very hard to break. The first reason why people send signals from their patterns to attract a match on the other side of the spectrum comes out of a strong emotional and existential need for security. But there is another major reason coming from the underground, our unconscious yet very vivid soul agreements. Every single one of us wants to grow and break free from the patterning entrapment, even if it's out of reach, deeply buried in the unconscious. We all want to see our light beyond the dark tunnel. We all want to find ourselves. Remember, this is our very purpose for incarnating. That's why often, even though their involvement doesn't make any sense and can drag them into some absurd agony, people are desperately riveted to a protagonist that pushes the envelope to their corner, out of a soul agreement they have contracted. On top of the patterns already in place, this very powerful player applies its force to the game without budging. Unfortunately, without the awareness to begin with and the tools thereafter, nobody can crack the code and get free from this tricky set of intertwined and obscure insanity that rules relationships. It is very convoluted, refined, and defies all logic. Since one feels entrapped in a straitjacket of reflected programs, another aspect of human experience will show in the game: resentment and anger. At some point, one feels they have sold their soul, given away their power to another, even if what they receive in return fulfills their needs. It is a big constriction of their freedom and full expansion. Anger and resentment will emerge with a ripple effect of guilt and shame for feeling angry with a codependency partner that loves you, between brackets, or has supposedly your best interest at heart. A very inextricable mishmash of feelings will play its cacophony in the denied and underground world. It is true that one has what one needs in codependency, even if it's at the cost of all the frustrations and heartaches explained before. The system, unfortunately, severely interferes with the real hidden problem that lies underneath, unaddressed. The huge void of self we all suffer from. This void being filled up by the programming and the programming being kept in check by the codependency, one is stuck and can't progress toward the recovery of true self. Locked up in the turmoil of this interwoven spiderweb of feelings, one is constantly kept away, distracted from the real issue at stake. Self-realization, the repossession of our truth in order to live in the glory of who we are, away from the manipulative tribulations of the codependency saga.